You're listening to Inside Lebo, a podcast giving you an inside look at Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office.
Hello and welcome to Inside Lebo. I'm your host, Assistant Municipal Manager and Municipal Planner, Ian McMeans.
And I'm Assistant Public Information Officer and Senior and Online Editor, Rachel Windsor. So our guest today is Economic Development and Commercial Districts Manager, Eric Milliron, and he's here to talk to us about Activate Uptown. So why don't you just start by telling us what the project is?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me back on the podcast. Glad to be here. So Activate Uptown is an opportunity to take a look at the Uptown District and how we interact with it and how can we better interact with it. So when we were planning the Vibrant Uptown project, we were really focused on the infrastructure improvements that needed to be made. So as we're all aware, we put in new sidewalks, new street lights, the planters, all of that. That's fantastic. But that's really the baseline, that's the foundation to build a truly vibrant district. So the Activate Uptown initiative that we're embarking on and we're currently in right now is looking at the spaces that when you come uptown to visit, you would interact with and participate with. So, we're looking at Clearview Common, we're looking at Parsway, we're looking at the planters. Are there ways to put public art on the planters, in the planters, all of these sorts of things. So it's called Activate Uptown because it's really about activating the public spaces.
So, first, I have another question, but you mentioned the Vibrant Uptown project. I guess we should refer to that as the award-winning Vibrant Uptown project because we have won now multiple awards for that project, one of which was actually involved this podcast, was the Golden Quill Award for the Public Information Initiative around the project. And then there was another one that you were actually out in York, Pennsylvania a few weeks ago to receive.
Well, thank you, Ian. That is absolutely correct. Yeah, so we were awarded what's called a Townie Award. It's a statewide recognition of what I'll call fabulous projects. And it runs everything from different events that communities do to streetscape projects like Vibrant Uptown. And so it was a competitive award, a statewide award, and we won that award. So we have a nice, beautiful trophy sitting in the municipal building here, a wonderful award. So we were very pleased to be recognized, and folks in the community, but also outside the community, can see the value.
Yeah, that's great recognition for all the work that you put in and for the project as a whole for the community. So building on that foundation of the award-winning Vibrant Uptown project, so what areas specifically is Activate Uptown looking at? You mentioned Clearview Commons and Parsway. Are there any other areas along the street that we're specifically looking at? Yeah,
sure. Well, all the ones you mentioned, and I'll probably touch on that, dive a little deeper into that. But when folks are thinking of Activate Uptown, yes, there's some key notes. Clearview Common is obviously a big one. That's the only parklet that we have in our central business district. It's where we have First Fridays. It's used, but could be used a lot more. And so we're going to be taking a hard look at that. Alfred Street, how does it function? Is there a possibility of potentially increasing Clearview Common so that we have more space and better accessibility, things of that nature? So, we're going to be looking at Alfred Street and maybe, ways to activate that street so that it's not just a pass-through between one side of the district and the other. Parsway has come up many, many times over many, many years for various reasons. People would like to see that improved on a number of levels. I mean, it's currently a service alley. Let's just call it what it is.
So can I just interrupt for a quick second? For those who may be listening who don't know where Parsway is, can you describe where Parsway is?
Absolutely. So it runs parallel to Washington Road. It's on the east side of Washington Road. And it's just below grade of Washington Road. So it is probably most famous for dumpsters, but also it's what separates the Uptown District from our light rail station, the Mount Lebanon Light Rail Station. So not only is it a service alley, but in many ways it's a gateway between folks that are using the mass transit and coming into our district. And a lot of times, if we have a conference in Pittsburgh and they're visiting Mount Lebanon for various reasons, I'll take them down there and I'll be like, if you just walked off of this train and you're from Omaha, what would you think of Mount Lebanon? And most people are like, I don't think I'd want to come. So this is an opportunity to take a look at that and improve that gateway. That's what that is. So that's what Parseway is. It's essentially a one-way alley that basically is a service alley. So there are dumpsters there. You have to cross it to get to the Central Business District, or from the Central Business District to the light rail platform. And it's also access to our hotel. But it's a crazy quilt of different materials on the sidewalk, which is owned by Port Authority. So we are partnering with Port Authority. They're part of this planning process. So we're going to be looking at that sidewalk. I don't know where this Activate Uptown is going to lead us, but I think one of the things potentially could be that Parseway becomes activated, almost like a linear park, like the High Line in Manhattan, something of that nature. So, if we think about it creatively and we think bold, that could almost become its own linear park that ties into Clearview Common and whatever might happen with Alfred Street. We're also looking at the Alfred parking lot, since you asked what other places we're looking at. That's another opportunity of where we could make some vast improvements. If you could imagine that parking lot being designed in a manner that could accommodate parking, but also could very quickly become an extension of Clearview Common. So we've done that in the past when we've had chili cook-offs and things, but it's not the most inviting space. So we're going to be taking a look at that. I call it the portal, but it's basically just a set of stairs that leads from Parseway to Washington Road. But if you think about that, really, again, is that gateway between the light rail station and the light rail to our downtown and vice versa. That stairway could really become something interesting. So it could be a matter of theatrical lighting. It could be, again, a matter of art, things of that nature. So, but again, those are probably the key nodes that we'll be looking at. But everything is in the public realm. And as I alluded to earlier, you could imagine the planters having a mosaic treatment put on them. We have some retaining structures related to Clearview Common that could have either a mural or some other type of treatment that makes it more enticing. The bottom line is that you're trying to get people to not just come up here and go to a restaurant, get in their car and leave, but come up here and linger and really think of Uptown as sort of an extension of their living premises, if you will, sort of an outdoor rec room or family room, or a place, a common where people can gather.
In planner lingo, the third place.
Correct. I was trying to stay away from planner lingo, but considering that you and I are both planning backgrounds, yes, we really want the downtown to become a third place. And when you say third place, a lot of times that's thought of as a cafe or a coffee shop, or the type of where you would have these serendipitous run-ins with folks. We want all of Uptown to have that sense.
And just for people who may be listening who aren't versed in planner lingo, the idea is that your home and workplace are the first two places where you hang out. The third place is the other place where you spend most of your time and have social interaction. So,
correct.
All right. I'll turn it over to Rachel for the next question then.
Yeah, so residents are probably wondering, what is the cost of the project?
Yeah, well, this is a strictly a planning project, and let me be very clear about that. You're not going to be seeing any. You're not going to see what you saw with Vibrant Uptown. I'll just put it that way. So we're not. This is not about getting construction ready drawings and things of that nature. This is truly a planning initiative. So the cost of the planning initiative is $44,500. Excuse me. We have a grant in from the Department of Community and Economic Development for $22,250. We are matching that. So what that pays for is the planning process that we're under. We've hired Pashik MTR, which are subject experts. They're urban planner and landscape architectural experts. They've done numerous projects similar to this throughout the state of Pennsylvania and other states. And also we're our subject experts in the comprehensive plan, which we just adopted this year. So they have a very intimate knowledge of what the residents are looking for and and how to plan these spaces. So they really came in with a very short runway. It didn't need much of a runway. So the $44,500 pays for the planning process, which we're under, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about what exactly that means. But they're going to be taking a lot of the ideas and inputs and feedback from residents and others. And then we're going to be having, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but we'll have a series of meetings which will culminate in a final report that will be a roadmap on how to make various improvements to activate Uptown, and then there will be opinions of cost associated with those various scenarios. And then it'll be upon staff and the steering committee and others to Sherpa that information through the elected official process and other public vettings and working with the comp plan. We're very much in alignment with that to figure out what the best road forward is. That's when we'll start raising money to actually build and do things. But that's years down the road. I feel comfortable saying I think everybody could use a break uptown from construction, so we're not proposing anything anytime soon. This is purely planning, and it's $44,500.
Cool. Well, with that, I think we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more from Eric Milliron, our Commercial Districts Manager, about the Activate Uptown project. Welcome back to Inside Lebo. We're here today with Commercial Districts Manager Eric Milliron talking about the Activate Uptown project. In the first half of the episode, we talked about the basics of the project, what it is, and what areas of the Uptown Business District the planning project is studying, and that there's no construction involved yet, that we're just planning for the future here, and construction projects will be part of future capital plans and grant opportunities and things like that. So let's talk a little now about community involvement. So Eric, how can residents weigh in with their thoughts and opinions on Uptown and the project spaces?
Sure. Well, we're all busy. That's especially true in summer, right? If we're lucky enough to be able to break away and take a vacation or what have you. But even if you're not able to do that, you're still busy. So we want to get as many resident inputs as possible. So there's a number of different ways that residents can weigh in. Currently, we have a survey that's live. There's been a push out that's been amplified through Lebo alerts, social media. So if you're on socials, you can find that. And you can find the survey on the municipal website. And so the survey is going to be live for another 4 to 6 weeks. So there's that. We are going to be doing something, it's called Meeting in a Box, but they're essentially pop-up charrettes, pop-up opportunities for residents to weigh in. So what that means is we're going to be at the first Friday in August. We're going to be setting up in front of the swim center at the rec center to catch people as they're coming and going from the pool. We're going to be at some of the Uptown farm market dates. Those are always Saturday, 9 to noon. Plug for that. But we'll be setting up a booth there. And what we'll be doing is we're going to be setting up some what I'll call storyboards. There'll be a pictorial board of suggested ideas for these various nodes that I alluded to earlier. And it's an engagement opportunity. So you'll be talking to either myself, staff, you'll be talking to members of the steering committee, and you'll have an opportunity at these pop-ups to weigh in on how you think Uptown should look. And it's really wide open. It's an open dialogue. We're not trying to script for folks what they should think, or they can really think outside the box. So there's that opportunity. And then in September, we're going to be having one of 2 public meetings. I don't have a date yet, but we want to do the survey, let that play out. By the way, I think we have over 700, if not maybe even approaching 800 responses to the survey, which is absolutely robust and crazy in a good way. I mean, that's a really fantastic number, and we want to see that go higher. So we're going to leaving the survey open. These pop-ups will be happening throughout the month of July, August, and then we'll have first of 2 public meetings in September, date to be determined, where folks can again come and weigh in. Our subject experts, Patrick, will take that back to the shop, come up with a series of ideas and concepts based on all of this feedback. We'll have a second public meeting where those ideas will be vetted. People can weigh in on what they like, don't like, really dial in on that, maybe ignore that thing. And then a final report with opinions of costs will be generated after that second meeting. So there's really going to be a lot of opportunity for folks.
And would you mind going into a little bit more detail about what types of questions folks can expect? And also, do they have to be subject matter experts or really know a lot about planning or be familiar with the exact streets that are mentioned? Like, what does the survey look for people before they even enter it?
Yeah, and I'll start off. No, you don't have to be a subject expert. All you really need to do is have been to Uptown at some point in your life, and had some experience with it, which we all have. If you live in Mount Lebanon, if you haven't been Uptown, I highly encourage you to visit it. But I think most of us have. Anybody that would be listening to this, so no, you don't have to be a subject expert. And the survey is designed to not so much tell you what you should think, but really allow the individual to think for themselves. So I don't want to say it's open-ended. It does lead one into certain ways of thinking about a space. So it's looking at what would you do with Clearview Common. I mean, very sort of open-ended things. Would you like to see this, more as a concert amphitheater? Would you like to see this more as a place where there could be maybe an active playground for kids? So there are prompts there to let you figure out what you think it should be. But then it gives you an opportunity, like, well, I didn't see anything in this buffet of choices. This is what I think. So there's lots of opportunities to capture everyone's individualistic thinking about it. It's a very, I think it's a well-designed survey. What I mean by that is it will give us the information that we need, and it's not all that time consuming for the person on the other end of it, right? So. Even if you're a very thoughtful and deliberate person, the survey really shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. And it's looking again at a holistic approach to how Uptown can be utilized. But I don't want to give too much away. I want people to take a look at the survey and answer those questions with their own free will.
And I believe, if I recall correctly, it's been a few weeks since I took the survey, but it includes some pictures of some of the areas too, to help you kind of conceptualize what we're asking about in those specific areas. So if you're not familiar with Parseway, there's pictures of Parseway, or if you're not familiar with kind of the portal down to the T station, there's pictures of that too. That's
absolutely correct. But again, it's we kind of lead you to the water, but we don't say how much you should drink, or if you should even drink. I mean, there's opportunities in the survey. They're basically like, leave it alone. I don't care, or you can go dive deep into what you think it ought to be. So, we do have some pictures there because we're a visual animal, and it helps people to process, I think, better when you can see a picture of something.
Cool. So you mentioned a little bit about the next steps in the process, but after the survey is completed, then what kind of happens with all the survey results and everything else from there?
Mm-hmm. Well, PASHIC will aggregate all of those responses so that, again, like I mentioned, I think we're definitely over 700 survey responses already, and that's before the podcast and before our pop-up meetings and such. So I expect that number to potentially double. Who knows? So there's going to be a lot of work. They'll earn their keep. So they'll aggregate those responses. I don't know the exact alchemy and magic that happens on that side of things, but what I assume is, they'll bundle the concepts. They'll have clear. They'll find the patterns in the locations and then start to, figure out. 100 people said there should be a new fountain in Clearview Common. 2 people said there should be a dog park there. So like starting to take that data and then give it back to the steering committee in a digestible manner so that the steering committee can make various decisions based on how to move the project forward. So the survey is really just giving a lot of information leading up to the first public meeting so that we're not coming in ice cold, that we're going to have at least a barometric reading of where a good portion of the residential base is at. And then we're going to hear from a whole new set of voices, in a public meeting. And again, they'll pull all that together and start coming up with actual project concepts. And once we get that really sculpted, then we can start to put opinions of cost to it so that we know what we're talking about. Because some things are going to be easy, like sunshades. It's pretty hot out there right now. We're what is this, July 7th or something today? So it's pretty hot out there, and it's going to get even hotter. So sunshades might be something that could be considered in this. Other things might be a rethink of Clearview Common that has, I don't know, I'm making this up, a lazy river, the koi pond at the end of it, and a Ferris wheel. Okay, so that's going to cost more than the sunshades, right? So there's going to be a process here of finding the right mix, the right alchemy, if you will, to make the district activate, but also be unique and be a special place.
Great. And so you mentioned about time frame a little bit earlier and just sort of gave us some insight about the initial time frame with the survey results. But could you just reiterate what people can expect for the project long term?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, so we're looking to have the first public meeting, I'm going to say in September. Patrick will more than likely need a month or month and a half after that to come up with various projected projects and ideas. So we're probably looking at sometime, I'm thinking, in late October or November for a second public meeting. I'm hoping to wrap this project, meaning that we'll have a final report and opinions of costs that I can present to the commission and other folks sometime late this year, possibly early next year, but I'd really like to try to wrap this up. It's going to be too late for this current budget cycle, but moving into next year, I'll be fully prepared, come when we embark on the 2026 budget cycle. By that point, the commission will have seen this presentation. There will have been, additional inputs from various stakeholders, things of that nature. So I think once we come out of the end of this, we'll have a good sense of direction, a good compass point on where we're going to go with certain projects, and we'll know what the commission feels good about, and maybe some things that maybe we should just move on from.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today, Eric. For those who are interested in having their voices heard, you can check out our social media pages on Facebook and Twitter for the links to the Activate Uptown survey. I think it's also under the Trending Now section on our municipal website, so you can check there also. And thanks for listening today. Thanks for joining us, Eric. Folks should also come out to the First Friday event on the first Friday in August and check out some of these other pop-up meetings that our consultants will be having around town. So there will be lots of opportunities for public input, and stay tuned for more about Activate Uptown.
And that's it for this edition of Inside Lebo, produced by Carrie Munoz with music by Drew Munoz and graphics by Chris Leeper.
We'll be back soon with another episode of Inside Lebo. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inside Lebo, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office. Learn more about all things Lebo at mountlebanon.org or by following our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.